News.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by the Duck Hunter. A weekend total of 3,972 new coronavirus infections were reported today by the Utah Department of Health, including 2,204 cases on Friday, 804 Saturday, 1,211 on Sunday. There were 67 cases removed from days prior to October 28th. School-aged children account for 880 of Monday's cases, about 22% of the new total, including 14 new COVID-19 deaths reported today. 3,300 Utahns have died from the virus over the course of the pandemic. 167 of them are in northern Utah. Some 350,639 coronavirus tests have been administered in the Bear River Health District since March 2020. Of those, 259,296 were given in Cache County, 89,106 in Box Elder County, and 2,237 in Rich County. In northern Utah, 217 new COVID cases were reported over the weekend, and the district's total case count grew to 31,436. There are now 29,924 considered to be recovered. Within the Bear River Health District, 1,464 people have been hospitalized over the 20 months of the pandemic. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Mostly cloudy this evening, then becoming partly cloudy. Overnight low around 30, and then a chance of rain Tuesday morning. Rain in the afternoon, 90% chance. High temperature in the upper 40s, mostly cloudy. Rain likely Tuesday evening, and a chance of rain after midnight. Just a slight chance of rain, however, during the day on Wednesday. It's been 44. It's 43 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch, featuring breathtaking canyon views and opportunities for real estate development. 2.5-acre lots are now available. Visit maplecreekranch.net. That's maplecreekranch.net.
Did you know a block dryer vent is a real fire hazard? According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, there are tens of thousands of dryer exhaust duct fires annually, leading to many injuries and death. You should have your dryer hose and the area around it cleaned once a year, and inspect the vent and hose for any blockages at least every 6 months. Don't wait for disaster to strike because your dryer vent is blocked. Give John Henson a call at the Duct Hunter. Call 770-4813 today.
Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duck Hunter.
KVNU News Time is 4:08. A truck driver died on Friday after suffering an alleged medical issue while driving along I-15 west of Riverside. The accident was reported about 1:45 p.m. along southbound I-15 near mile marker 386. According to the Utah Highway Patrol, a semi-Freightliner tractor truck was traveling southbound in the area at the time. The driver of the vehicle appeared to have suffered a fatal medical issue while driving. The semi-truck went off the roadway to the right and through a large ditch. When troopers arrived on scene, the driver was unresponsive, still in the driver's seat. Troopers and EMS personnel provided life-saving measures, but the driver had passed away. No other vehicles were involved in the crash. The name of the deceased is being withheld pending notification of family. And the Navajo Nation reported 60 more COVID-19 cases, but no new deaths. The latest numbers released Sunday pushed the tribe's total to 37,411 confirmed COVID-19 cases from the virus since the pandemic began more than a year ago. The known death toll remains at 1,498. Tribal officials still are urging people to get vaccinated, wear masks while in public, and minimize their travel. All Navajo Nation executive branch employees had to be fully vaccinated against the virus by the end of September or submit to regular testing. The tribe's reservation is the country's largest at 27,000 square miles and covers parts of Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. KVNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
610 AM and 102.1 FM. News Talk KVNU.
It started out as free.
But then they said it would only be a few cents a day.
What you're hearing is real, and it may be happening to you.
I pay for streaming video, then the cloud storage, then streaming audio. Where does it end?
It ended up being a lot every month.
This is the sound of nickel and diming syndrome. It's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
I just want to hear my music. Is that so wrong?
There is hope. For millions of people, there's radio.
Radio?
Radio. With 0 down and 0 per month. Radio delivers all the news, music, and entertainment you want, when you want it, for free. No usernames, passwords, or Wi-Fi connections required.
Here's my card number. It's 735.
Shh. Don't speak. When you listen to local radio, you'll never need that.
This is so wonderful.
Yes, it is. The cure for nickel and diming syndrome.
Oh, I could use a hug.
It's radio. No subscription required.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cash Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. Democrats argue that voters will benefit from their massive spending plans, but what evidence will appear before the midterm elections? Also, as foreign visitors return to the U.S. to travel and shop, will this help businesses looking for workers in a tough labor market? And avoiding being awkward as you return to the office. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
My son knows he should never touch my gun.
He never talked to me about his gun.
I keep the gun where she can't find it.
He thinks I don't know where it is.
She doesn't
I know.
Someone you love could be hurt by a gun accident in your home. Keep your gun locked away when it's not being carried.
Take the time to talk with your kids.
Have the talk with your family about gun safety.
Talk to your family about firearm safety. Learn how at projectchildsafe.org/welcome.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight
with Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. He's Bill Walter. It is...
Who? Oh, me.
That guy.
Okay.
That other guy in here.
I was looking around, but yeah, I guess it's me. Yeah.
It is Monday, November 8th. Feeling a bit irreverent today. It's been a funny day for me. It's a long story, which makes it hard sometimes to tune into politics, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that experience. But tune in, you should. Right now on Capitol Hill, and I expect this is probably going to go on until about 7 o'clock tonight at least, a public hearing is happening. The only public hearing, actually, on a legislative redistricting map that was unveiled just last Friday afternoon, late in the day Friday. This map was unveiled by the legislative committee that will make the final recommendations on redistricting maps, which I'll remind you include school district boundaries, state and house or state house, state senate boundaries, and also the one everyone likes to fight over the most, the congressional districts, the federal representatives, those boundaries as well. The map unveiled on Friday, very different from all 12 maps that were recommended by the Independent Redistricting Commission. We spoke recently with former State Senator Lyle Hilliard, who served on that commission, working for the last several months, analyzing data, speaking with the public, getting feedback from the public. In fact, former Senator Hilliard brought with him, when he was here in the studio that day, a stack about 5 inches high of public comment that had been printed for the committee to flip through and review. Thousands of comments on what to, the average Utahn meant a community of interest. That's a definition that's hard to achieve, but it's also something that redistricting is supposed to be about, keeping communities of interest together as much as possible, recognizing it's never going to be entirely possible not to make someone mad or disappoint some community. Obviously, any parent, when a school district boundary moves because of population changes, which is bound to happen now and then in redistricting process every 10 years, that can be devastating for a child and very upsetting for parents, but it does happen. So they try to avoid this as much as possible. The map unveiled 2 issues I take with this. One, 3 days before the actual special session where maps will be voted on and recommended to the legislature at large, where they'll be maybe tweaked a little bit here and there, but for the most part will just pass quickly after being recommended by the legislative committee. That's distasteful to say. I mean, that's using a nice word. 3 days for the public to review the maps and submit public comment is just almost a thumb in the nose to voters. Another sign that our legislature is increasingly feeling unaccountable to the people and above just the rules of decency when it comes to some of these processes. That said, 10 years ago was the first time I really was plugged in to a redistricting process. Through this show, we had an opportunity to speak each week with members of the legislative committee that year. There was no independent commission that year. Voters hadn't created that through the ballot process yet, but they did in 2018, and so this year that was new to the mix. This committee recommended 12 maps to the legislative committee, and then last Friday the legislative committee unveiled a map, apparently just found under a couch cushion somewhere, right, that they thought was the best idea. Very, very different than the 12 maps recommended by the independent commission. Lawmakers are at least going to have to explain themselves on this one, but again, with a legislature that has consolidated so much power and feels so unaccountable to people, I doubt the independent commission is going to influence things much, other than they'll have to come up with some better excuses for the map that they've apparently already chosen. In 2010, the same thing happened. There was a summer-long tour of the state. They had many public hearings, and then in the final weeks, not the final days at least, but the final weeks of the process in 2011, they found a map under the couch cushions that was very different than one anyone had seen so far, and that's the map that ended up passing. So it's a process that understandably leads to a lot of frustration, and that is what lawmakers are getting served a gigantic pile of right now on Capitol Hill. The meeting, again, the only public hearing that will happen for the map that I predict will be the redistricting map eventually passed tomorrow in special session. Starts at 10 a.m., by the way, on Capitol Hill. If you want to listen Tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's at le.utah.gov. Right on the calendar there. You can click live audio and video. You can also do that for the public hearing that's happening right now. I listened a bit before the show started, and we'll check back in at the end of the show just before we wrap up here at 6. Give you a little taste of it, just a few minutes. You can hear what people are saying to the legislative committee, the lawmakers who are on that committee, which is the public hearing was scheduled from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, but based on how things are going and the number of people, it was standing room only, and then they had to open an overflow room. They're also accepting public comment online. You can do that now. Actually, you can do that up until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can submit a public comment online, and then your specific representative will be able to see your comment. So if you'd like to do that, that's also an option at le.utah.gov, the legislative website. Live audio and video of this event streaming right now as we speak, and it's been pretty fiery so far. In the about 25 minutes that I let it just play in the background while doing other things in preparation for the show today, not one comment in support of the legislative map unveiled Friday. Every comment that was given was in support of consideration of one of the 12 maps submitted by the independent commission. Many people referencing the fact that this independent commission was created by popular vote on the ballot in 2018, meaning that the majority of Utahns, at least in 2018, wanted this to be an independent process, that basically an independent commission would present the maps, hold public hearings, and then the legislature would get to pick one. Lawmakers changed that in the legislative session right after voters approved this on the ballot and took the teeth out of it. Basically said, well, okay, the commission won't recommend a set of maps to us. What they'll do is just make some recommendations. We'll in the end, pick our own maps, which might not be part of the recommended maps from the independent commission. And that's exactly what's happened here so far. So I could be wrong. Tomorrow there are 12 maps from the independent commission. Lawmakers are getting a lot of pressure from their own constituents, especially those along the Wasatch Front and in the Salt Lake and Utah County areas where most of the new community divisions will happen. And people are not happy about this map. So we'll see. If you'd like to see it yourself, it is available at le.utah.gov. I've also posted some screenshots of some of the boundary lines. But one thing I would suggest, don't just look at the congressional boundaries. It is a thing to see. One of the changes, for example, District 1, Congressman Blake Moore's district, would, instead of wrapping around, right now it's kind of an L shape. It goes across the top of the state and then a bit down to include parts of Summit County. And one of the boundary changes would take away those parts of Summit County and then give Congressman Blake Moore chunks of the avenues in Salt Lake City. How that makes sense as a keeping communities of interest together, is just beyond me. What it does make sense as, though, is a great way to divide up Salt Lake City and dilute the one area of the state that votes blue, traditionally and predictably, with far more red portions of the state. But unfortunately, you then have people who are going to be in the northern parts of Salt Lake City, not just county, city, who have a representative that is representing places like Rich County, Cache County, Box Elder County. It just doesn't make sense. But it's the way the map looks. Much of the criticism from Salt Lake City residents over the weekend, and if you look through the public comments that have been submitted online so far, has pointed to the fact that the Salt Lake City will be divided up by this map into 4 parts, and the divisions go right through communities. And some have pointed out they go right through communities of color, mainly. Rose Park For example, just a little east or west of downtown Salt Lake, there is divided almost 3 times, just barely missing 3 times. So there would be 3 different, the people in that area would have 3 different representatives that they'd have to, you have to call your neighbor basically and say, who's my congressional representative this year? Anyway, it is what it is. And to be fair, there's a lot of partisan criticism from especially Democrats in Utah on this. Gerrymandering isn't a partisan thing. Unfortunately, blue states, the same thing happens. There are parts of Massachusetts and the more left-leaning parts of Oregon where the same type of thing has happened, where you have lawmakers basically dividing the state up, cutting communities in half with re-election interests in mind, and then coming up with an excuse for why they had to do that. It's an unfortunate thing. Unfortunately, it is not technically illegal. If it's brazen, it will fail in a court challenge, but it has to be really brazen. We've seen through the history of courts reviewing these types of things. Utah has never had to take back a map that they've passed, but the Wall Street Journal did call Utah one of the most gerrymandered states in the country after passage of the map in the early 2000s, and it's worth keeping an eye on, at least. But don't just focus on those congressional boundaries. If you get involved in this, if you submit a public comment, be sure to take a look at your school district boundaries, how they might be changing. There are going to be some minor changes to the legislative boundaries here in northern Utah. Box Elder, Cache, and Rich counties are going to see some border movement on those legislative districts. But I would guess for most of you listening, the most important thing, the thing that could affect you the most would be those school district boundaries, where the edges of those districts are going to be and if they're moving. So check it out. I've linked to the map on our Facebook page. And again, you have not long until 9 a.m. tomorrow. They'll cut off the online public comment portion at le.utah.gov, and then the legislative special session begins at 10:30 a.m., and you'll be able to follow along. We'll bring you some highlights. They are talking about other things as well. There is on the agenda for the special session tomorrow, lawmakers will also be debating and voting on legislation that brings back a bail reform bill that was basically canceled by the most prominent speaker that day was representative of the Utah Sheriff's Association. Lawmakers are still kind of burning about this one a little bit. A lot of misinformation was presented by reps of the Sheriff's Association that day, and lawmakers were quick to point that out, Republicans who had originally passed this bail reform bill. And so expect a little bit of revenge in legislative form on that one tomorrow as they debate that bail reform bill, which Governor Cox said at the time would be coming back. He said that he was not going to let the bail reform disappear, even though it had been repealed that very day during the legislative session earlier this year. So that's on the agenda for tomorrow as well. They'll probably get to that in the afternoon after a lunch break. And like I say, if you're not able to tune in throughout the day, I understand most people have real lives and jobs. We'll bring you some highlights on the show tomorrow. But right now, check out the comment period, which I guess will go on until about 7 o'clock tonight at what is going to be the only public hearing ahead of tomorrow's special session on this map unveiled just late last Friday that is likely to be the official map passed by the legislative committee, and which will vote today, and then the full legislature tomorrow in legislative session. You can see the map at le.utah.gov. Coming up later on the show, we'll be joined by County Executive David Zook. A lot going on with the county. We'll be talking about it all in hour 2. And a woman named Norma Carr. She's not only a current member of the Utah Sports Hall of Fame, but she's one of the founding members of something you may have seen if you visited the City Creek area recently, the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Museum. Well, a listener reached out and said they'd visited and they wanted to know more about how they curate and decide what goes in the museum and upcoming events. Well, they've been gracious enough to give us some of their time today. Norma Carr of the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Museum in downtown Salt Lake will be joining us after the news. We'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
KVNU.
Wow, Mike, you look terrific. How you liking the new job?
It's terrific, Meg. I've lost so much weight since working at Polylift, I need new pants.
How about we get you into something more comfortable?
Bet you my old bell bottoms will fit.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Get a job that'll make you fit. Polylift offers competitive wages and an active 9-to-5 that'll get your wife's attention. Visit poly-lift.com for more details or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated.
With a little help from Mother Nature's October snow, Whole Tree Care is slammed, and they're hiring. If you like to work with your hands, give Whole Tree Care a call, 760-6587. They need climbers and groundmen. Call them to clean up your large broken branches and trees, too, or get your trees trimmed before the next snowstorm. So whether you need a job or have a cleanup job for Whole Tree Care to do, call 760-6587. They have a certified arborist, the right equipment, the best cleanup crew, and the most experience. 760-6587.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show. We'll be talking with Bill O'Reilly, breaking down the absolute latest as the battle over the Bernie budget continues and COVID madness won't let up. Plus, Buck.
We'll also get in the latest on the border situation. The numbers are in. What's it looking like for last month for the whole fiscal year? Can the Biden administration be held to account for this? That and more coming up on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It is non-legislative news. How about we do some of that, since we're going to be talking about the redistricting public hearing happening right now. And again, we'll check in towards the end of the show. This is going to keep going all night, but it's going to be a lively hearing throughout the evening. So I'll bet it goes until 7 o'clock. We've got some highlights coming up for you towards the end of the show. Before that, though, we'll speak again with David Zook, County Executive, Norma Carr, joining us on the other side of the news here this hour from the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Museum, a listener-requested segment that we'll be getting to in just a bit. I did want to highlight this story today. Law enforcement here in Logan searching for a group suspected of breaking into St. Anne's Retreat, or the haunted nunnery. I've heard it referred to as so many different things over the years, but local law enforcement asking for the public's help in identifying several individuals who reportedly broke into St. Anne's Retreat in Logan Canyon around Halloween. No real information or guesswork needed on why this was probably happening. The Cache County Sheriff's Office posted several photos of suspects on its social media accounts Monday morning, and deputies report the security cameras captured the group at St. Anne's Retreat on October 30th, the night before Halloween. One of the men has glasses, wearing a T-shirt. There's a female suspect who also in a T-shirt and shoulder-length hair. Pretty nondescript photos, but possibly someone out there could recognize, and one person in this group wearing a nun costume. The suspects are wanted, of course, for possible criminal mischief offenses, and the sheriff's office asked anyone who might recognize the individuals to contact law enforcement. This is St. Anne's Retreat is it's a favorite local urban legend, ghost stories, and decades of trespassing and sadly vandalism, and it was up for sale recently for $700,000. That listing has since been pulled down, and no one really knows if it's because a buyer was found or if there wasn't one and they just scrapped the idea of selling it. I'm surprised no one's.
I think somebody would.
Yeah, the location alone.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the kids breaking in every Halloween for some sort of Halloween-themed criminal mischief, as the sheriff's report said. Other than that, it's a great location, but
Maybe just, because of the reputation. And,
Oh, sure.
You know, what happened several years ago, of course, some kids held at gunpoint out there.
Yeah, with a shotgun full of rock salt.
Yeah.
That was...
because of, I guess they were kind of breaking in.
Sure. There was a groundskeeper there that held them at gunpoint, and that was a pretty controversial story. But, this has been going on forever, and a lot of people in the Valley could tell you some stories. But what's interesting to me about this is that absolutely none of it is true. Not even the usually a lot of times with urban legends or folklore type myths that'll come up in a local area that are passed down from generation to generation, there will be some kernel of truth. Like there will be some event that just lends itself to suspicion and conspiracy. That's not even the case with this location. I think literally sometime back in the 60s, someone thought it would be a cool story to invent. That this supposed horrific tragedy happened at St. Anne's Retreat and that the place is now haunted. It didn't happen, and it actually has a pretty quiet history. It's been used for various different purposes over the years, and it just unfortunately is the subject of a lot of folklore and urban legend. So it is a pretty serious thing, though. This is private property, and oftentimes when the teens, the kids, break in for their criminal mischief, there is damage to private property, and even some of the buildings there over the years. One was set fire one year by trespassers. So it is unfortunate. So if you know anything at all, the photos, again, are pretty blurry. Assumed from a security camera, but do show faces and clothing. I'm doubting anyone's going to identify the person dressed up as a nun. You can just barely make out her face, but
and she probably ditched the costume
I would
shortly
guess.
after that.
I would
probably
guess.
Still not walking around like that.
Although and I'm sure the Sheriff's Department investigators have thought of this, but it might be worth looking into recent nun costume rentals, because I doubt many people own a nun costume. Well, I could be wrong. Check it out. Photos and more on the story at CacheValleyDaily.com. Law enforcement searching for a group suspected of breaking in to St. Anne's Retreat over Halloween weekend. We'll be back on the other side, speak with Norma Carr of the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Museum. Right after this, look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:37. The news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. A 48-year-old Logan man has been sentenced to prison for sexually abusing a young girl more than 10 years ago. Alejandro Gutierrez was ordered to serve the maximum sentence under Utah law, 15 years to life. Gutierrez was resentenced during a virtual hearing in First District Court this morning. He previously pleaded guilty to aggravated sexual abuse of a child, a first-degree felony, and was sentenced in January. In October, the sentencing was vacated after Judge Angela Fonsbeck ruled that the court had cut off the victim when she jumped in during sentencing to make an additional comment. The mistake may have prevented a fair and accurate translation of the hearing by the court interpreter. Gutierrez molested the then 13-year-old girl multiple times over the period of several years. The last time was at her home when he allegedly climbed into her bed and sexually assaulted her in 2011. Police report the girl woke up her siblings, who then reported the incident to the children's mother. They confronted Gutierrez, who claimed he was drunk and asleep at the time. He left the home before officers arrived and disappeared for years. In April 2011, a judge issued the no-bail arrest warrant for Gutierrez after his car was found at the Salt Lake International Airport. At that time, police had suspected that he had fled the country. Gutierrez was found in Mexico and arrested in March. He was extradited back to the state and held in jail without bail. Researchers are studying the Great Salt Lake in the hope of finding life-saving medicines. The Salt Lake Tribune reports a University of Utah professor and her students are scooping up mud and other sediment to identify microorganisms like bacteria and fungi that could hold the keys to a new curative. Their work comes as concerns about the lake rise. It is shrinking quickly as water use on the Wasatch Front decreases flows into the lake, and hotter temperatures cause more evaporation. Water levels in July dipped to the lowest level on record and continue to decrease. And a group of Boise students is drafting legislation to require licensing for minors to purchase firearms. They hope to win bipartisan support for the gun control measure in one of the most conservative states in the nation. The Idaho Statesman reports that the students are all members of Idaho's March for Our Lives board. They hope the measure will help prevent suicide, school shootings, and other forms of gun violence by slowing the process that minors use to buy a gun. The goal is to make it so students in the midst of mental health crises cannot easily access firearms. KBNU News Time is 4:40.
As you've noticed, the season has changed, and the holidays are coming, and so are your guests. You need beds for them to sleep in and a new couch to sit on. Well, with family and friends coming, UNI Furniture is the place to help you be ready. Find the popular selling queen-size therapeutic mattress for only $3.99. Or here's an idea. Move the bed you're sleeping on to the guest room and upgrade your mattress. See all the chairs, too, at UNI's Chair Heaven. Accent chairs, lift chairs, and, of course, recliners. There's always a better buy at UNI Furniture in downtown Logan.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy this evening, then partly cloudy skies, low around 30. Chance of rain Tuesday morning, then rain in the afternoon. Cloudy upper 40s for the high. Rain likely Tuesday night. And then a chance of rain after midnight. It's been to 44. It's 42 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather is brought to you by Logan Extermination. They will hang Christmas lights for you, whether you own lights or not. Logan Extermination will do it quickly and affordably. Call 752-8450. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Senior Branch Office Administrator Dina Milligan, bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of financial advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. Major indexes finished higher today following news that Congress passed an infrastructure spending bill. Value is outperforming growth, with shares more sensitive to economic cycle expected to perform well as COVID-19 cases decline, and the infrastructure bill provides a boost to economic activity. Internationally, European equities are mixed, while Asian shares continue to slide. The U.S. 10-year yield is little changed at 1.5%. U.S. equities closed higher today. The Dow closed up 104 points to 36,432. The NASDAQ closed up 11 points at 15,982, and the S&P 500 closed up 4 points at 4,702. In the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 1.5% higher, or by 0.04 percentage points. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot closed up 19 cents at $368.59. Lowe's down 75 cents at $234.79. Nucor up $4.04 to $116.24. Pepsi down $3.57 to $162.43. R.R. Donnelley and Sons down 2 cents at $9.15. Thermo Fisher up at $7.67 to $624.47. Walmart down 96 cents to $149.27. Zions Bank up 55 cents to $65.36, and Northrop Grumman closed down $1.10 to $363.27. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Daryl Arnell, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru for Morris Columbus Travel and Delta Vacations, with special discounts to Hawaii, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Europe. Then add to your discount your choice of up to $350 additional savings, or up to 75,000 extra Delta Sky Miles. For details, contact your favorite Morris Columbus Travel office.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
Procrastination isn't a valid retirement strategy. If your saving for retirement approach involves the phrase, "I'll get around to it someday," it's time to make someday into today. Edward Jones can help. Contact your local Edward Jones financial advisor to get started today. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Edward Jones office. When it comes to meeting your retirement goals, time can be on your side, and there's no better time than now. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Continuing on here with a listener-suggested topic for today's show. A listener emailed and said they had recently visited a site, the City Creek area of downtown Salt Lake. And, I'll just read a bit from the listener's email here. USU had quite a presence at the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Museum in downtown Salt Lake. And listener said, it'd be great to hear how this was put together, how people can go down and see it, upcoming events, and also how they curate items and various presentations for the museum itself. So we reached out and we found our way to a person who really deserves nearly a 10-minute segment just for an introduction, with a long list of achievements and recognitions over the years, from the first female referee to officiate a Utah High School Athletics Association boys basketball game, to the first woman to coach Division I women's sports at the University of Utah, and later became an athletic director of the Salt Lake Community College. We're joined now by a woman named Norma Carr, who is the former president and current boards member of the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation. And Norma, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. What a long list of sports-related achievements. And as I have been informed, you yourself are also in the Hall of Fame Museum, right?
Yes, I'm in the. I've been honored as an outstanding official as well as a coach of merit. So, yes, and I love to talk about the museum. So I'm more than thrilled to be on this show with you.
Well, I think it's fair to say, Norma, that there are probably few who have seen as much of Utah sports as you have. This museum, though. Having been there for a bit now and open to the public the entire time, is something many people haven't heard about. Located in the City Creek area, the museum at specifically 99 West South Temple in Salt Lake City. This draws quite a crowd every year, right?
Well, we grow every year, and of course, we're in about our third year. We're in the third year right now of opening that facility, and of course, we got hit just like everybody else during the pandemic for several months being down. So that, you have to start all over again, almost getting people once people get out of the house again, right?
Sure. That's and luckily that's a bit safer for us to all do now. And this museum is open to the public. Norma, our listener, specifically the listener sending in this idea for a topic today, wanted to know, how you decide what is represented there at the museum itself, and how it all came to be. Whose idea was this to begin with?
Well, it was during my presidency of the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation that the Delta Center, they decided to remodel it. And when they did that, our display in the Delta Center, which was simply a trophy case with plaques and names and things like that in it, got put in a box. And,
wow.
And then they did away with a lot of walls and things like that because they opened up their facility more. So we didn't have a place to display our honorees. And so we started exploring several different ways and what we wanted to do, and finally decided to bite the bullet and make a Hall of Fame museum. And we explored and got a space in the City Creek Mall And we fundraised over $1 million to build this facility out. And then we also got support from the legislature to help us with the sustainable costs, as we go year to year to year. So, it was out of necessity. And now we have a very modern, interactive type of a display with phenomenal pictures and monitors where you can look people up, and sometimes you can hear for the Hall of Famers what we call the stories from the vault. And we're trying to get all of our 200, almost 300 plus Hall of Famers that with their stories, but it takes money, and so we're having to raise another $500,000 to try to complete that project.
Sure. And this is to go out, and as I understand it, you guys are actually interviewing these sports, these Hall of Famers going back decades, interviewing them, talking to them about their experience, and then making that a part of sort of interactive displays?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about, their stories from the vault, and they interview them. And then we have a great gentleman that puts the stories together, so it's an emotional story that tells about them and their experiences. And, of course, let's face it, a good share of our past has passed on.
Sure.
And so we have to do it through other people's eyes and things like that. And if there's any film on them, then we try and capture that.
That is... So an obvious question here, if someone out there listening is... they've got something, maybe some video or audio of a family member or written stories or things like that. They should definitely reach out, right? And see if they can be included in the museum.
Well, how they, if we have somebody, what this museum is about is the people that are honored in it. And we honor high school coaches. We honor coaches of merit, which are college or people that have done high school and college.
Oh, wow.
We honor officials. We honor distinguished service people. And we also give scholarships every year. So we have lists of scholarships of who gets scholarships for what high schools and where they've gone to school in Utah and used that money. And so we have some things, too. We have some interactive things where you can take a luge ride through virtual goggles.
Oh, wow.
And you can test your knowledge of sports or Hall of Fame people on some things. And we also have cases with memorability in them. We have Gene Fulmer's. I don't know how many people are boxers on this call, but we have Gene Fulmer's belt, his championship belt. And
oh, really?
Which doesn't even compare with today's belts, for championships. But we have several things like that people can see, as well as we also highlight our current, just recently inducted 5 Hall of Famers with their intro speech, as you can hear that if you want, or you can hear their stories. So and then we have what I call the brag board, which is all the Utah colleges and what national championships they have won in what years.
Oh,
so, sure. That's also in the museum for people to look at.
That is very nice. This is, again, the museum located in downtown Salt Lake at 99 West South Temple, there on the corner, northwest corner of the City Creek Mall. And it is open to the public. It's free admission. They do also offer some, parking, 2-hour free parking, things like that. So easy to get to. But they do depend on community support to keep this running and to expand the museum. You can donate or even offer up to volunteer some time for various needs they might have over the year via the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation's website, where you can also see some great photos of the museum that we've been discussing here with Norma. That website is utahsportshalloffame.org, and there are some video presentations and more to give you a taste of the museum itself. And Norma, throughout the year, you guys also, through the foundation, host events and things like that, both to fundraise but also to drum up community interest and get people out appreciating the Hall of Famers, right?
Yeah, we in the September is when we usually induct our new Hall of Famers. In the spring, which is usually April, is when we induct the high school and the merit coaches and distinguished service coaches. We also do in January on every other year a leadership symposium, which we're going to do this January 22nd for high school or other any kind of coaches to come, and people that are in our Hall of Fame, whether it be Hall of Famers or distinguished coaches, are teaching those sessions on things that certainly encourage you to sign up and come to that, because that's our next event. And then we have a golf tournament in June that we use as a fundraiser, as well as we do a donation drive. So, yeah, we do those other activities through the year to help the foundation stay solvent and to help us to move forward. And we look for donations or leading us to anybody that can give us money to complete the stories from the vault for all of the Hall of Famers. And, it's easy. We're easy to find. We're in City Creek in the big, tall condo towers right there on the corner of, like you said, West Temple and South Temple. But we're north of Nordstrom on the mall level.
Very nice.
And there is 2-hour free parking in City Creek down below. Yep.
Get out and experience this, and also support this. This is a unique effort in Utah, one of a kind, recognizing not only the athletic achievements here in Utah at various universities and high schools, but also building this lengthy history of Hall of Famers through video stories, personal experiences, and more. See some photos and videos that are presented there at the website to give you a little taste of the museum, but then get down and check it out for yourself. The website, again, where you can also, again, make a donation to support the foundation and the work they're doing, learn more about it, what have you, UtahSportsHallOfFame.org. And our guest, again, has been a woman who knows sports in Utah, to say the least. First female referee to officiate a Utah High School Sports Athletic Association boys basketball game. First woman to coach Division I women's sports at the University of Utah. And later, for more than 25 years, athletic director at the Salt Lake Community College. Current board member, former president of the foundation, Norma Carr. And Norma, appreciate you taking some time for us today and telling us a bit about the museum. And we can't wait to see where this goes.
Yeah, it's a good secret. And the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation, our mission is to preserve and to showcase and to use these things as educational and inspirational things for particularly youth. And we want to preserve Utah's sports history, and that's what we are about, is people that are from Utah or have been here at least 10 years, and that's who we enshrine in this Hall of Fame.
This is amazing work you're doing, and just seeing some of the photos of the museum. Can't wait to get down and check this out myself. Listeners, I hope you will as well. I hope you'll support the work they're doing. It's important stuff, and there is a lengthy history here, stories that need to be told. The website, again, UtahSportsHallOfFame.org. The museum located there on the corner in the condo building of City Creek, easy to find. And our guest, one more time, has been Norma Carr of the Utah Sports Hall of Fame Foundation. And Norma, appreciate taking some time for us today, and maybe we'll check in again soon, see how things are going.
I'd look forward to that. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. And for listeners, a pleasure to have you tuning in as well. We'll be back with more in Hour 2 of today's show right after this here on KVNU Logan.
Adams Wealth Advisors' entire team says, thank you, Cache Valley, for voting them the best financial planner in the Best of Northern Utah competition. Honesty and integrity is the hallmark of Adams Wealth Advisors. Let them earn your trust today.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind, whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today. Please see AdamsWealthAdvisors.com for more information on these recent awards.
Hi, it's Chris at Levin's. People ask us all year long, when is your big sale? It's easy to remember. It's the 11th day of the 11th month, 11/11 at Levin's. Come in for men's suits, only $111 and $125. Pattern ties, 5 for $25. Solid ties, 6 for $25. Socks, $3.50. Dress pants, $22. Maxi skirts, $11, and all women's clothing on sale. Every item in the store at least 25 to 50% off. This week only, downtown Logan, 69 North Main Street.
Hey, it's Al Lewis. We all know buttons make our lives easier. But if you have sleep apnea and can't use CPAP, did you know there's a button that can help you go from this to this? It's called Inspire. It's a small device that works inside your body with just the click of a remote. That's right, a button. If you struggle with CPAP, great sleep awaits at InspireSleep.com. Inspire. Sleep apnea innovation. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you. And review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
News Talk 610 AM at 102.1 FM. KVNU, Logan.